Sarah's hands trembled as she smoothed her dress over her 7-month pregnant belly. The restaurant door loomed before her like a final judgment. What kind of man would still want to meet after she'd texted him the truth about her pregnancy? As she pushed open the door, she never imagined that this blind date would change everything. If you're moved by this story of unexpected connection, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming real-life stories that remind us of the beauty in life's unexpected moments. Sarah Jenkins checked her reflection in her phone camera one last time before entering the restaurant. At 32, with her chestnut hair pulled back in a simple ponytail and minimal makeup highlighting her tired green eyes, she felt anything but ready for a date. The black maternity dress she'd chosen did little to disguise her 7-month pregnant belly. She'd almost cancelled a dozen times today alone. This is ridiculous, she muttered to herself, earning a curious glance from a passing couple. Her friend Melissa had insisted she needed to get back out there after her ex-boyfriend Mark had walked out upon learning of her pregnancy. You deserve happiness, Melissa had said while setting up the blind date with her husband's colleague. Sarah had agreed before she'd started showing so prominently. She'd texted her date, Michael, last night, finally confessing her pregnancy, fully expecting him to cancel. His response had surprised her. I still look forward to meeting you. Everyone has a story. The hostess led Sarah to a corner table where a man stood as she approached. Michael Reynolds was tall with kind brown eyes and salt and pepper hair that belied his 36 years. His smile seemed genuine as he pulled out her chair. Sarah? I'm Michael. It's nice to meet you. She settled awkwardly into her seat, her hand instinctively resting on her belly. I appreciate you still wanting to meet. Most men would have run for the hills. Michael's expression softened. Well, I'm not most men. He hesitated before adding, and I understand complicated situations better than you might think. Their conversation started cautiously. Sarah learned Michael worked as an architectural engineer. She told him about her job as a pediatric nurse, currently on medical leave due to complications with her pregnancy. The initial awkwardness gradually dissolved as they discovered shared interests in hiking, old movies, and a mutual addiction to true crime podcasts. So, Michael said after their entrees arrived, I'm guessing there's a story behind. He gestured vaguely toward her belly. Sarah tensed. My ex decided fatherhood wasn't in his 5-year plan. He left 4 months ago when I refused to. Her voice caught. Well, when I decided to keep the baby. Michael nodded, his expression unreadable. Then he reached into his wallet and pulled out a small photo, sliding it across the table. A little girl with pigtails and a gap-toothed smile beamed up at Sarah. That's Emma. She's 6 now. His voice softened with pride. Her mother left when she was 8 months old. Said motherhood was suffocating her creativity. Moved to Los Angeles to pursue acting. She calls on birthdays, sometimes. Sarah stared at the photo, then at Michael, seeing him with new eyes. You're a single dad. And you're a single mom. Or will be soon. He smiled. See? Everyone has a story. The revelation changed everything. Their conversation deepened as they compared notes on the challenges of single parenthood, Michael offering hard-earned wisdom about sleepless nights and daycare struggles, Sarah sharing her fears about doing it all alone. The hardest part, Michael confessed, is the loneliness. Not just for adult conversation, though that's part of it. It's making all these important decisions without someone to bounce ideas off of. Should Emma try this medication for her asthma? Is this school the right fit? Am I being too strict or not strict enough? Sarah felt tears welling. That's exactly what terrifies me. What if I make the wrong choices? Michael reached across the table, hesitating before gently touching her hand. You'll make mistakes. We all do. But from what I can tell already, you're thoughtful and caring. Your baby is lucky. As the evening progressed, Sarah felt something she hadn't experienced in months: hope. Not necessarily romantic hope, though Michael was undeniably attractive and kind. It was the hope of understanding, of not being completely alone in this journey. When the check came, Michael insisted on paying. "Consider it an investment in a new friendship, at minimum," he said. Outside the restaurant, the autumn air had turned chilly. Michael offered Sarah his jacket, which she gratefully accepted. "I live just a few blocks away," she said. "I can walk." "I'd feel better walking with you, if that's okay," Michael replied. "No pressure or expectations. Just want to make sure you get home safely." As they walked, Sarah felt the baby kick vigorously. She gasped, placing her hand on her belly. "Everything okay?" Michael asked, concern evident in his voice. "Yes, just an active little one tonight." Without thinking, she took his hand and placed it on her belly. "Feel that?" The moment his hand touched her stomach, the baby kicked again. Michael's face transformed with wonder. "Wow. That's incredible." They stood there on the sidewalk, connected by this simple, profound moment. When Sarah looked up, Michael's eyes held a warmth that made her breath catch. "I had a really nice time tonight," she said softly. "Me too." He removed his hand reluctantly. "Would it be okay if I called you tomorrow? Maybe we could take Emma to the park this weekend? She's been asking about babies lately. Might be educational for her." Sarah smiled. "I'd like that." As they reached her apartment building, Michael did something unexpected. Instead of attempting a kiss or making promises they couldn't keep, he simply took her hand and squeezed it gently. "Whatever happens between us, whether we become friends, something more, or just two single parents who had one nice dinner, I want you to know something." His eyes held hers steadily. "You're going to be an amazing mother. And you're not alone." Those simple words, "You're not alone," echoed in Sarah's mind as she watched him walk away. For the first time since seeing those two pink lines on the pregnancy test, she truly believed it might be true. The following weeks brought a gentle evolution to their relationship. Michael and Emma became fixtures in Sarah's life. Emma, precocious and curious, appointed herself guardian of the baby, talking to Sarah's belly and bringing her collection of stuffed animals to practice with. Michael proved to be thoughtful in ways Sarah hadn't expected. He installed cabinet locks in her kitchen, because you'll be too tired to do it later. He accompanied her to a doctor's appointment when her usual ride cancelled. He never pushed for more than she was ready to give, respecting the emotional complexity of her situation. Their first kiss happened on a Sunday afternoon while Emma was engrossed in a cartoon. It was gentle and brief, but filled with promise. "I wasn't looking for this," Sarah confessed afterward. "I was just trying to survive." "The best things often find us when we're looking elsewhere," Michael replied. As her due date approached, Sarah's anxiety returned. "What if you decide this is too much?" she asked Michael one evening. "A relationship is one thing, but a newborn is chaos. And this baby isn't yours." Michael took her hands. "Emma wasn't biologically yours, but you've loved her and cared for her these past months. Family isn't always about DNA. It's about who chooses to stay." When Sarah went into labor 3 weeks early, Michael was the one who drove her to the hospital, who called her parents in Florida, who made sure the nurses knew her birth plan. He waited in the hallway during delivery, respecting her space while ensuring she wasn't alone. Lily Jenkins was born at 3:17 a.m., 6 pounds and 4 ounces of perfection with a shock of dark hair and her mother's green eyes. When the nurses had cleaned her up and Sarah had had her first precious moments with her daughter, she asked for Michael. He entered the room cautiously, his eyes widening at the sight of the tiny bundle in Sarah's arms. "Meet Lily," Sarah said, her voice hoarse from exertion. Michael approached slowly, perching on the edge of the bed. "She's beautiful," he whispered. "Just like her mother." Sarah watched as he gently touched Lily's tiny hand, his finger immediately captured in her surprisingly strong grip. The tenderness in his expression made her heart swell. "Thank you for being here," she said. "For everything." Michael looked up, his eyes suspiciously bright. "There's nowhere else I'd rather be." 6 months later, Sarah stood in Michael's kitchen, bouncing Lily on her hip while Emma carefully set the table for dinner. The past months had brought challenges: Lily's colic, Sarah's postpartum depression, the logistics of blending their lives, but they'd faced them together. "Need help?" Michael asked, coming up behind her to kiss her cheek. "We've got it under control," Sarah replied, leaning into him. "Emma's been teaching Lily about proper napkin folding." "Very important life skill," Michael agreed solemnly, winking at his daughter. Later that night, after both girls were asleep, Michael and Sarah sat on his back porch, enjoying the rare quiet moment. "I have something to ask you," Michael said, suddenly serious. No pressure to answer right away. Sarah's heart quickened. "Okay. Your lease is up next month. I was thinking, if you're ready, maybe you and Lily could move in here. We could convert my office into a nursery. The school district is better, and the commute to your work would be shorter, and..." Sarah stopped his nervous rambling with a kiss. "Yes," she said simply. Michael's face broke into a relieved smile. "Really? Really?" She took his hand. "But I have a condition." "Anything. I don't want to just be your girlfriend who lives with you. If we're going to be a family, I want us to really be a family. Not necessarily marriage right away, but a commitment. To each other. To both girls." Michael's expression grew tender. "I've been carrying this around for weeks, waiting for the right moment." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I was thinking the same thing." Inside was a simple solitaire diamond ring. Not flashy or ostentatious, but elegant and bright, like their love, born from unexpected circumstances but growing into something beautiful and enduring. "I love you," Michael said. "And I love Lily. I want to be her father in every way that matters. I want us to be a family, officially, completely, permanently." Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes to all of it." As Michael slipped the ring onto her finger, Sarah marveled at life's strange, wonderful journey. A year ago, she'd been abandoned and terrified, certain her pregnancy had ended any chance at happiness. Now she sat beside a man who had chosen her and her daughter, who had shown her that love often arrives in unexpected packages. Their story wasn't perfect. There would be challenges ahead. Emma's biological mother might become more involved, Lily would eventually ask questions about her birth father, and blending families always brought complications. But Sarah knew they would face whatever came together. Sometimes the most beautiful stories begin with the most difficult chapters. Sometimes a blind date with a baby bump leads to the family you never knew you needed. And sometimes, the most unexpected circumstances lead to exactly where you're meant to be. As Sarah rested her head on Michael's shoulder, she thought about all the single parents out there feeling alone and afraid. She wished she could tell them all what she now knew to be true: family isn't always what you're born into. Sometimes it's what you build from the broken pieces of old dreams, creating something even more beautiful than you imagined possible. Jack's relief was palpable. "Thank you for understanding. Most women I've dated either want to rush into a ready-made family or keep Zoe at arm's length indefinitely. Neither works for us. We'll figure it out as we go," Emma said, surprising herself with how right it felt to say, "we." Their goodbye was a simple hug, but Emma felt the promise in it, the potential for something real. Over the next few months, Emma and Jack's relationship developed with careful intention. Their early dates were just the two of them. Dinners after Zoe's bedtime with Jack's neighbor watching her, lunch breaks near Emma's office, even a hiking trip one Saturday when Zoe had a sleepover with a friend. Emma learned that Jack had a dry sense of humor that emerged when he was comfortable, that he could be stubbornly self-sufficient to a fault, and that he carried guilt about not being able to save his wife despite knowing rationally that her cancer had been beyond anyone's control. Jack discovered that Emma worked too hard and too long, that she had a secret talent for making elaborate paper airplanes, a skill she'd perfected during boring college lectures, and that despite her confident exterior, she sometimes doubted whether she'd ever find someone who would truly understand her. 3 months in, Jack asked if Emma would like to join him and Zoe for pizza and a movie night at their home. "Are you sure?" Emma asked. "I don't want to rush things with Zoe. She asks about you all the time," Jack admitted. "I think she's ready, and honestly, so am I. But only if you are." Emma felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. "I'd love to come." Jack and Zoe's home was a modest 3-bedroom house in a family-friendly neighborhood. It was tidy but lived in, with Zoe's artwork proudly displayed on the refrigerator and bookshelves filled with an eclectic mix of engineering texts, children's stories, and mystery novels. Zoe greeted Emma with enthusiasm, immediately dragging her to see her room, which featured a ceiling painted with stars that glowed in the dark. "Dad did that for me when I was scared of the dark," Zoe explained. "He said if I was going to be awake anyway, I might as well have something pretty to look at." Emma's heart melted a little more. "Your dad is pretty special, isn't he?" "The best," Zoe agreed solemnly. "Mom picked a good one. That's what Grandma always says." The evening was comfortable and fun. They made pizza together, with Zoe insisting on creating faces out of the toppings. They watched a Pixar movie that made both Emma and Jack tear up at the end, much to Zoe's amusement. And when Zoe fell asleep on the couch between them, Jack carried her to bed with practiced ease. "She likes you," Jack said when he returned, sitting close to Emma on the couch. "I like her too," Emma replied honestly. "She's amazing, Jack. Smart and funny and kind. Like her mother," Jack said softly. "Sarah would have loved seeing her grow into herself like this." Emma hesitated, then asked the question that had been on her mind. "Do you ever worry that I'm intruding on her memory? For you or for Zoe?" Jack considered this carefully. "I used to think that loving someone new would somehow diminish what Sarah and I had. But I've realized that's not how love works. It's not finite. What Sarah and I shared will always be part of me, part of Zoe. But that doesn't mean there isn't room for something new, something different but equally valuable." He took Emma's hand. "Sarah will always be Zoe's mother. Nothing changes that. But Zoe has so much love to give, and so do I. If we're lucky enough to find someone who wants to be part of our lives, I think Sarah would be happy for us." Emma squeezed his hand, deeply moved by his words. "Thank you for sharing them with me, both of them." That night marked a turning point. Emma began spending more time with Jack and Zoe together, helping with science fair projects, cheering at soccer games, making Sunday pancakes a tradition. She was careful not to overstep, always deferring to Jack on parenting decisions, but she found herself increasingly invested in Zoe's happiness and well-being. There were challenges, of course. The first time Zoe had a meltdown in front of Emma, a full-blown tantrum about not wanting to do her homework, Emma wasn't sure how to react. She watched as Jack handled it with firm kindness, neither giving in nor shaming Zoe for her feelings. Later, Zoe apologized to Emma for being a monster, her small face serious. "You weren't a monster," Emma assured her. "Everyone has big feelings sometimes." "I still do." "You do?" Zoe seemed skeptical. "Absolutely. Just last week I got really frustrated when a client changed their mind about a design I'd worked hard on. I wanted to throw my computer out the window." "Did you?" Zoe asked, eyes wide. "No, but I did eat an entire pint of ice cream and complain to your dad on the phone for an hour." Zoe giggled. "Dad's good at listening when you're mad." "He really is," Emma agreed, sharing a smile with Jack over Zoe's head. As their first anniversary approached, Emma realized she'd spent more nights at Jack and Zoe's house than at her own apartment in recent months. Her toothbrush had a permanent spot in the bathroom, her favorite tea was always in the kitchen cabinet, and Zoe had cleared a drawer in her room for Emma's stuff when they had sleepovers. They were becoming a family, gradually and naturally. The thought both thrilled and terrified Emma. She'd never imagined herself as a mother figure, yet here she was, helping with homework, kissing scraped knees, and reading bedtime stories. One night, after Zoe was asleep, Jack took Emma's hand and led her to the backyard. He'd strung lights in the old oak tree, and a bottle of champagne waited on the patio table. "What's all this?" Emma asked, though her heart was already racing with anticipation. "1 year ago today, you made a joke about marrying the first man who walked through a door," Jack said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "I'm not sure if the universe was listening, or if it was just incredibly good timing, but I thank whatever forces brought us together every single day." He knelt down, pulling a small box from his pocket. "Emma Matthews, you've brought joy, laughter, and love back into our lives when I thought those things might be lost to us forever. Zoe adores you. I adore you. Would you do us the extraordinary honor of becoming a permanent part of our family? Will you marry me?" Emma's vision blurred with tears as Jack opened the box to reveal a beautiful emerald ring, her birthstone, she realized, not a traditional diamond. "Jack," she whispered, overwhelmed. "Before you answer," he said quickly, "you should know this was Zoe's idea." "Well, not the proposal exactly, but she asked me last month if you could be her forever Emma, instead of just her sometimes Emma. When I asked what she meant, she said she wanted you to live with us always and be part of our family officially." Emma laughed through her tears. "She did?" Jack nodded. "I told her I wanted that too, but that I needed to ask you properly." She helped pick out the ring. "It's perfect," Emma said, touching the emerald gently. "And yes, Jack Pearson. Yes, I will marry you. Both of you." Jack slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood to kiss her deeply. When they broke apart, both breathless, a small voice came from the back door. "Did she say yes, Dad?" They turned to see Zoe in her pajamas, clearly having been eavesdropping instead of sleeping. "Come here, you little spy," Jack called, laughing. Zoe ran to them, and Jack lifted her into his arms. "What do you think, Zoe?" Emma said yes. Zoe beamed, reaching out to touch the ring on Emma's finger. "It's pretty, just like we picked. Does this mean you'll be my stepmom?" "If that's okay with you," Emma said carefully. Zoe considered this with adorable seriousness. "I think Mom would say it's okay. Grandma says Mom would want us to be happy, and you make us happy." "You make me happy too, Zoe," Emma said, her heart full to bursting. "Both of you do." Jack set Zoe down and poured champagne for himself and Emma, and apple juice for Zoe. "A toast," he said, raising his glass. "To family, the ones we're born with, the ones we lose, and the ones we find when we least expect it." "To family," Emma echoed, clinking her glass with theirs. Later that night, as Jack slept beside her and Zoe's nightlight glowed down the hall, Emma thought about the journey that had brought her here. A careless joke at a party, a door opening at just the right moment, and now a future she'd never dared to imagine, not perfect, not without challenges, but filled with a love so genuine it took her breath away. The wedding was small and joyful, held in the botanical garden where Jack and Emma had gone on their 5th date. Zoe served as both flower girl and best daughter, a title she'd created for herself. She wore a dress that matched Emma's bouquet and took her duties very seriously, especially her self-appointed task of making sure everyone signed the guest book. During the ceremony, Jack and Emma exchanged traditional vows, but then Jack knelt down to Zoe's level. "Zoe," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I promise to always be your dad, to love you with all my heart, and to make sure you know every day how special you are. And I promise that adding Emma to our family doesn't change the love I have for you, it only makes our family stronger and more full of love." Emma then knelt beside Jack, taking Zoe's small hands in hers. "Zoe, I promise to care for you, to listen to you, to respect the special bond you have with your dad, and to honor the memory of your mom. I promise to be there for science projects and soccer games, for nightmares and celebrations. I'm not trying to replace your mom, but I hope to be someone you can count on, someone who will love you as her own. We're building a new kind of family together, and I couldn't be happier or more proud to be a part of it." Zoe, usually so talkative, was solemn as she listened. Then she surprised everyone by pulling a folded paper from her dress pocket. "I made promises too," she announced. "Dad helped me write them down so I wouldn't forget." The guests laughed softly as Zoe carefully unfolded her paper. "I promise to pick up my toys most of the time," she read. "I promise to be patient when you and Dad want alone time. I promise to tell you when I'm sad about Mom so you can help me feel better. And I promise to love you even when you make me eat vegetables." There wasn't a dry eye in the garden as Jack and Emma embraced Zoe, the three of them holding each other close, a family forged through loss and chance, strengthened by choice and love. At the reception, Emma's friend Lily raised her glass for a toast. "To Emma and Jack, proof that sometimes the universe listens to our jokes and gives us exactly what we need, even when we don't know we need it. And to Zoe, the luckiest girl in the world to have so much love surrounding her." 2 years later, Emma sat in the hospital, holding her newborn son while Jack and Zoe hovered nearby, both eager for their turn to hold the newest member of their family. "He's so tiny," Zoe whispered, gently touching her brother's hand. "And red." "You were even smaller," Jack told her. "And just as red." "What are we naming him?" Zoe asked. They'd narrowed it down to a few options but wanted to see the baby first before deciding. Emma looked at Jack, who nodded encouragingly. "What do you think about Thomas? After your mom's father?" Zoe's eyes widened. "Really? After Grandpa Tom who died before I was born?" Emma nodded. "Your mom would have wanted her son to have that connection to her family. And Thomas Jack Pearson has a nice ring to it, don't you think?" "Thomas Jack Pearson," Zoe repeated, testing the name. "I like it. Can his nickname be TJ?" "I think that's perfect," Jack said, his voice rough with emotion as he sat on the edge of the bed, one arm around Emma, the other around Zoe. As Emma looked at her family, her husband, her stepdaughter, her newborn son, she marveled at how a single moment could change everything. One joke, one door opening, one man walking through it with his daughter's hand in his. "What are you thinking about?" Jack asked, noticing her thoughtful expression. "Just how lucky we are," Emma said. "How all the pieces of our lives, even the painful ones, led us here, to this moment." "The universe knew what it was doing," Jack said with a smile, echoing Lily's words from years ago. "Maybe it did," Emma agreed, leaning into his embrace as Zoe carefully held her baby brother for the first time. That night, as her new family slept around her, Jack in the chair beside her hospital bed, Zoe curled up on the small couch, and baby Thomas in the bassinet, Emma reflected on the journey that had brought them together. Life rarely follows the paths we imagine for ourselves. Sometimes it takes detours through heartbreak and loss. Sometimes it surprises us with joy when we least expect it. And sometimes, just sometimes, a careless joke at a party becomes the beginning of the most beautiful story we could ever hope to live. If you've stayed with me until the end of this story, thank you. I hope it reminded you that love often finds us in the most unexpected ways, and that families come in all forms, some we're born into, some we create along the way. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that celebrate the beautiful unpredictability of life and love. Remember, sometimes the best things happen when we least expect them, perhaps even when we make a joke about marrying the first person who walks through a door.